Alright guys, what's up? This is a supplement for the market structure plus zones video. If you guys see, we have this high here, right? Into this low that's put in here, right? And then we end up trading up above it. What do we say? That it's usually like a weekly candlestick structure shift, sorta. So we end up getting a high here. Right? Why do we consider that a high here? Because if you look over here at this high, these are wicks. You want to see a strong close up above to indicate that this is a protected low. If you got these little wicks happening up here with no strong close above, then you don't want to really consider this as a new high and this as another low, because price can easily attack this low that came from the weak high. So we consider that the high, right? So when we put in this high, what do you end up seeing? You end up seeing a low gets dropped in. Now, with these lows that get dropped in, of course, there's, with multi-time frame market structure, there's, a few highs and lows that's bringing us down, but nothing is taking us below the protected low, right? So what do we end up seeing there? We end up seeing price trade back into the 50%, and you see price respects it, right? Right near to the protected low below. So when we get that respect for it, we end up what? Trading from this low, the lowest point inside of this range. The lowest point inside of this range ends up being the protected low should we end up trading up above this previous high, right? So we trade here to this previous high, right? So if we take the same thing as you guys saw in the previous video, we talked about the zones being created, right? The zones being created, right? And the low of the zones are usually the protected low as price trades up above with a body closure and validates that high, which consequently validates the zone. So what do we end up getting across here? We end up seeing price tap back into the 50% there, right? Respects the 50%, which also respects the previous low, right? And you see price go to put in another high. So let me just keep it there and keep it going. That's there. So when we trade down again to respect this zone, to respect that low, we put in another high up above here, right? And then you see a body closure up above that high as well, right? So I have me here because this is actually when I started learning in the market. This is when I started learning about trading, right within this region here in December of 2021. So I started making money by the time, we were in this move down here. Everything sort of clicked for me around January 21st. But what was the market in at the time? A downtrend. Why? The reason why the market's in a downtrend now is because, remember how we mentioned in the videos, we trade up above the old highs and then we trade below those lows. So look, we have a low there that was responsible for what? This high up above that did what? Broke structure to the left side. Broke structure to the top side. So then we trade it right back below. Now this is the thing you guys want to pay attention to when trading in real time, is that there are times where we will trade up above this high, trade back into this zone, and price will violate it. Price will violate it, right? That's the whole point of counting your swings, right? So how many swings do we have going up? You can go back to the video and count how many swings you need to count. So what you end up seeing is us trading below this low with a body closure. So what do you have there now? Let's move this back a bit. We end up seeing this low into what? The previous high that's created, right? Now that's the down move. We traded below that. So what we see now is that price traded up into the 50% of that zone, right? The previous range, 50% of it. And then we watched it trade lower. And it traded lower and put in a body down below here, right? So let's go back and get our tool. That high, that low, right? That high, that low, right? So what we see here is that price trades back into this previous range. And what we are anticipating is price trading into the 50%, right? But what ends up happening? We end up mitigating it more than that 50%. And we see price reject away, right? So the issue with this, which you guys are going to go through the candlestick structure video, is that with candlestick structure, if you were using candlestick structure here in the 50% of it, then you would have been liquidated. If you were using candlestick structure even here to try and take the rest of the move down to deliver that 1-to-1 or to deliver another low, you would have been liquidated. There's many different ways to avoid this, but back testing is the most efficient way to know what to do when price does not give you the confirmation to get in. And what do you do often with that? Stay out. Trade within your weight class. Trade within your experience. So we actually end up having, remember what I said? It's the lowest low that's in the range, right? So this is the highest high that's within that range as well. So what we end up having is price traded below it again, right? And traded all the way down and put in this low. So now we have this low, this high, sorry, into the low below here, right? Into this low, right? So what we end up having is now price trades back up into that range, back up into that previous range. But oftentimes what we like is for price to trade into the 50% to understand that that mitigation to it was enough. It mitigated there. Yeah, it could trade up and mitigate further and then trade down, but we want to know that it came to tap into the 50% at least. So we have this move down, but look at what occurs after with the move down. We see price making its way up. Here's where somebody's drawing this out to say, oh yeah, this is another range here. It's another range here. So price should tap into the 50% here and then trade to the downside. But look at what occurs. And see, it looks like it's trading lower. Now it's back into that range. It's here in the 50% of the range. But look at what happens. We get to the 50% of the range. Somebody's using candlestick structure in there, and they get liquidated behind the zone. So now, price gets to the 50% of this range up above here. And this is where we want to place our low. Right there, right? And this is where we want to place our high. Unless price is looking to take out this previous high up above, which it would be violating the what? Protected high. So what do you end up getting on this? We tap into that 50% and look at this huge sell-off that happens after. That 1-to-1 gets delivered. And does the low get taken? Yeet, the low gets taken. So now there's our fourth swing. This is why we want to consider the 50% of zones, because you guys don't understand the full detail yet about the 70 and the 30. And you're not going to understand that if you're still having trouble with being able to map out market structure. So what you need to do is follow this, back test this, learn how to efficiently utilize this, and then you move to another understanding of the refinement of that area. There's so much detail in price, but if you don't learn from step A and then you go to B, or from 1 and then you go to 2, what makes you think you're going to be stuck? What makes you think you're going to be successful at skipping over it? You ever heard a kid or an adult who never learned ABCs talk? How would they begin to? How would they begin to understand these things if they didn't start with the foundation? How do you think you're going to become profitable if you don't even have a foundation of how the market moves? So you have to back test this. And if you choose to do it in real time, guess what? You're going to be profitable in maybe like the next 8 years. But if you choose to back test this against the data that has already happened, you can back test that and become profitable in less than a year. It takes far longer to learn in a live environment than it does to learn in a backtested environment, because those 8 hours you take to trade and get cooked up, you could use those 8 hours to backtest weeks of price action to help cement your understanding of how price actually moves. So the basics are needed in mapping this. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that overload your understanding with, this low, this high, and they say, oh, yeah, this is the inducement, and then we go down and we take that. I understand all of that. But you don't need to pay attention to that. What you need to pay attention to is market structure first. Get good with that. Become profitable with that. This is all I had when it came to trading. I didn't have nothing else. When I found profitability, like I'm talking about undeniable profitability, it was market structure that I had, nothing else. All the other stuff is bells and whistles. All the other stuff is detail I learned along the way and then passed down and taught to other people. But this is the very first thing that you need to master in order to be able to be confident in trading this market. And then the rest of the stuff within there, you'll be able to follow a lot easier. But it needs to start from one step, and it starts with this. And as we mentioned, there's multi-time frame market structure in here as well, but this is the 4 hour. So what you should also get used to doing is mapping out your higher time frame market structure and following that until delivery, and then watching how the lower time frame shifts and change, and then follow that lower time frame delivery within that higher time frame market structure. And that'll keep you on the right side of the market most days. Y'all hear me? Most days that will keep you on the right side of the market. Instead of trying to trade every little imbalance that's in here, instead of trying to, time the low or time the top of something and getting greedy along the way. Oh, I'm up here. It tapped into this imbalance. I think we can go higher from here. Let me shift my stops to break even. You see it coming back to take you out. And what do? Move your stop loss back. And then you give away all of the progress you made because you just didn't know where you were in structure. You just didn't know how to time lower time frame structure with higher time frame structure. So it's higher time frame to lower time frame, not lower time frame to higher time frame. Many of you guys are trading with lower time frame to higher time frame, and that's what's getting you cooked. So many people ask me, can you teach me the 1 minute to the 5 second combo? How? If you don't even know what the 1 hour does, if you don't even know how to follow the 4 hour, if you don't even know how to follow the daily, you're going to get cooked. You want to go down to the 5 second and don't even know how to master the 1 minute? I made $40,000 in 14 days. 40,000 in 14 days only using the 1 minute. So what makes you think you making $0 in 100 days, you should be on the 5 second time frame? It doesn't make sense. So you need to start with a top-down analysis daily, understand where your swing points are, understand where the midpoints of those swing points are, understand how to get involved in those moves, which that's where we taught candlestick structure, which is coming out tomorrow, by the way. And candlestick structure is not a supplement for knowing where you are in structure to take your trades. There's bullish candlestick structure that happened right at the top of this range. There's bullish candlestick structure that happened up here. There's bullish structure that even happened up here. Bullish flips that even happened up there. And none of that is sufficient enough if you don't understand the multi-time frame use of it. A candlestick structure flip on a 1 minute is only a candlestick structure flip on a 1 minute. What is it facilitating? Is it facilitating a 15-minute pullback, or is it facilitating a 15-minute reversal? Because now a candlestick structure flip on a 15-minute reversal, now you're going to be met with price coming to that same area 2 times, possibly 3 before it actually leaves. So your candlestick structure 1 minute entry is not sufficient for a 15-minute move if it's a 15-minute reversal, knowing that price has to now do what? Candlestick structure flip on the 15. And what about the candlestick structure flip on the hourly? And then the 4 hour? Those things, they're worked out in back testing through multi-time frame analysis. So I hope that this video is a supplement for helping you guys to understand that curve, that market structure, plotting out market structure or mapping market structure to the top side and then going to map it to the bottom side. You have to get good with that first. You can be profitable with market structure. You don't need anything else. Ask me how I know. So I'll see you guys soon for the next video. And I hope you guys enjoy this one. Later.